bar in a video game is a place of comfort, a place of peace, a place to fritter away some time on mini-games, talk to your party members, maybe just immerse yourself in the world. A place where you, the player, can relax alongside your character. All kinds of games use the bar as a resting place. In games with multiplayer, the bar is a good place to sort of kick back for a moment while some of your friends either connect to your party or turn in quests. Maybe they have to get up and feed the cat. In these instances, the bar is sort of a desk toy, something to amuse yourself with briefly while you wait for something actually interesting to happen. Though it's mostly just a temporary amusement to keep you engaged, a multiplayer bar is still valuable in that it keeps you immersed in the world while you're waiting for your friend who is not within the world to come back. Otherwise, you would probably be spending this moment completely disengaged from the game. But where a bar really shines is where it has room to breathe, where it feels like a small departure or reprieve, a place where you can authentically breathe in the world for a moment, talk to everyday people with everyday problems. Even if their everyday involves dragons or nanomachines, it helps you stay immersed by talking to someone who has to live their life in this zany world and drink their night away. I have a great affection for digital drinking. Real bars are loud, hectic, full of other drunk people, rarely if ever peaceful. Not exactly the most fantastic place to go if you want to relax. A digital bar, however, is the platonic ideal of the bar, the faraway dream of every drinker to sit at the bar, wait there for a moment, order a single shot of whiskey, and then stare meaningfully out the window. With thick drops of rain drumming on the window panes, beating on them like the world's been beating on you for 54 long years. Why did she leave you? Was it the Legos? You only spent $2,000. I wanted to understand why I find digital bars so attractive. Why I have spent hours of my finite life drinking digital alcohol that I cannot taste. And I have gone to a few of my favorite digital bars, spent some time there, and found there are about 4 major criterion that make a digital bar. Firstly, the atmosphere. In most games with alcohol, you could just be drinking alcohol in the middle of nowhere from an open bottle. You don't necessarily need to go to the bar. The appeal of the bar should be that it's a communal place, it's well decorated, it feels warm and homely. If you can drink anywhere, there should be a reason to drink at this specific bar. The second would be drinks. Food and drink is a very interesting aspect of world building, and it adds a lot to a world to flesh out things like homebrewing and cocktail culture. You can speculate on what something might taste like, you could make it in real life and see how it actually does taste. Do the cocktails have fun names? Do they reference in world events? Are they a fun spin on an existing cocktail? If you have a bar in a game, it should have something interesting to drink. What are the clientele like? Are they going to talk to you about the world, their time in it, their problems? Are they going to talk to you about their day-to-day life and work? Or are they going to try and direct you towards a cave with a sword in it? Good clientele are people who clearly have lives that exist outside of the player's scope. They don't care what the player is doing, they don't need their help, they're just talking about the way that things are. Lastly, and this one is important, can you get litty? In real life, people don't drink alcohol for stat buffs. They drink alcohol because it makes them feel fun and stupid. If I'm drinking in a video game, I want some feedback about it. Give me a screen filter. Make my controls more wobbly. Make my screen shake around in a way that's sort of unpleasant, honestly. Give me dumb dialogue options. Just make it so that people acknowledge the fact that I just sculled an entire bottle of whiskey right in front of them and now I'm wandering around them like I'm a normal person. In order to test these criterion, I have a series of 8 different video games, each with bars, that I will be testing this against. Before we begin our digital tour of bars, I will do what every annoying tour guide does and unsubtly ask for a tip. If you could like and subscribe, you know, if you feel like it, it'd be nice. Sorry, getting back to it. As a control group, we will be starting with the dry vodka martini of video games, Skyrim. One of the first towns that you will be spending a significant amount of time in Skyrim is Whiterun, which is a real shame because their bar sucks. And I'm not talking about the Drunken Huntsman. No one actually goes to the Drunken Huntsman. Nobody wants a glass of Alto wine next to Nazim. The Bannered Mare is fine and all, but Mikhail works there, the people won't shut up about security in Whiterun, and almost everyone there is hostile in one way or another, except for the poor owner.
Keep walking, soft gut.
But Jesus, man, calm down.
The main room is cramped, with no real dining space, and the most exciting drink that they have on tap is Honningbrew Mead, the Coors Light of Skyrim. You wouldn't catch me dead in the Bannered Mare. The gentleman goes to the Bee and Barb. The Bee and Barb has all the charm of a good Skyrim tavern. Handmade wooden furniture lit by warm orange flames. Diners and drinkers scattered across an open common room overlooked by the rooms for rent. It definitely hits the right notes for atmosphere. This is the only bar in Skyrim where the bartender shows any real aptitude. Good old Talon J here considers himself something of a mixologist. He has 3 custom drinks, they all sound delicious, and they're all references to in-game lore.
Look at that, that's service right there.
In terms of clientele, it is definitely better than the Bannered Mare, but like most Skyrim NPCs, they don't really have much agency beyond reminding you that the Civil War exists and desperately trying to get you to do their quest. The best of them I would describe as overly political, which is not the kind of person you want to encounter in a bar, and the worst of them are begging on their bloody scraped knees for you to add yet another quest to your already enormous quest log.
I need someone to deliver a message to Sibby Blackbriar.
I'm good.
However, the real problem that the Bee and Barb faces is systemic. And it's that, in Skyrim, you cannot get litty. Maybe being Dragonborn just gives you sky-high liquor tolerance.
So, are you ready to die, android? Are you? Does that even do anything for you?
Not anymore.
A 10% stamina regen decrease does not constitute drunkenness in my mind. Anyone who's thinking about their stamina regen when they're drunk is someone who is not being drunk correctly. Skyrim suffers from the fantasy trope of the bar being also the town square, a place where all information is passed through at all times, and anything of importance will be there. It's a job board, motel, and diner all rolled into one. The bars of Skyrim reveal one thing about Skyrim in general, that if you're not actively pillaging, questing, and increasing numbers and loot, it does not know what to do with you. And the bar, which should be a place to kick back and relax, has been rezoned as a place to fill out your already enormous quest log. To widen the test group a little bit, it might be better to look at a bar that resembles a real-world bar a little more. I mean, these poor suckers in Skyrim don't even have distillation. Fallout 4, another Bethesda game, also has a similar problem. The town that you will spend the most time in, Diamond City, has an absolutely miserable double tap of bars. Both the Dugout Inn and the Colonial Tap House are as joyful as a DMV that serves room temperature beer. The bars feel more like abandoned buildings than they do feel like bars. These people have the capacity to decorate. This much bare concrete should not be visible. And yes, I know, nuclear bombs happened. However, you're in the largest industrialized city in Boston, Massachusetts. Would it kill you to use a lamp? The selection of drinks is even worse. There's cola, there's rum. No one has thought to combine the two. The best thing that you can get in terms of custom drinks is Bobrov's Best Moonshine. Bobrov, you are no Popcorn Sutton.
How dare you stand where he stood?
The clientele is also pretty miserable. I went to both bars in Diamond City and I only found one guy who was even a little bit fun.
You just walked right up into the stands, didn't you? I like your stone.
I like you, you're fun, man.
But I had to double back on myself because I almost forgot about the third rail. The third rail makes very good use of the post-apocalyptic setting. It's a bar set in an abandoned subway station. Despite the fact that the apocalypse has occurred, the place is well decorated. There's not many bare walls, the place is well lit, and there's a nice seating arrangement for the people who are dining instead of drinking. Given the aesthetic of the bar, the ramshackle appearance of the bar itself is very forgivable. Unfortunately, there still are no original drinks. There are a few mixed drinks that were added with the Nuka World DLC, but these are mostly sodas that are mixed up. Still, it would be nice to be able to order these in bars. Some people might enjoy a Roy Rogers. Despite the fact that in-game Good Neighbor has a bad reputation, is very far from the truth. In the third rail, almost everyone is at least a little friendly.
Excuse me.
Hey.
Hey.
People are glad that you're there. Most people talk about happenings around town or small businesses within the area. As well, though she's technically talent and not clientele, Magnolia really lights the area up. It's nice that there's someone who's still out there producing art in this world. And the people love her, they'll even applaud when she's done performing. Plus, you can flirt with her, which is a nice touch. Has Nate really moved on from Nora? That's for the player to decide. And a special mention for this being the first Bethesda game where you can indeed get litty. Nothing much changes, you just have some sort of silly dialogue responses that are very nice.
Hey.
But you are aware that your character is good and drunk as a skunk. This is a very good bar. I can see myself spending more time here. While from the songs and from the atmosphere, it's clear that you are still living in an apocalyptic wasteland, it doesn't mean that it's devoid of comfort, and, most importantly, devoid of liquor. One of the big problems in Fallout 4 is that you're sort of shoehorned into the role of Nate or Nora, and are at the mercy of their personal whims. Being able to kick back in Good Neighbor, listen to your character say a few drunken lines, and maybe have a bit of genuine character interaction, gives the player an actual relationship with their protagonist. If the player was invited to spend more time in Good Neighbor, maybe they would feel a little bit more comfortable in the protagonist's shoes. Especially seeing as there's another game which uses its bars to great effect when endearing the player to the fixed protagonist. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that has had a lot of Oh, hold on a second.
Son
Are you sorry?
You gonna do it then?
Good. Red Dead Redemption 2 is a game that has had a lot of money and effort put into it, and it does show. Every place where you can have a shot of whiskey in Red Dead 2 has its own unique charm. Except Van Horn Trading Post. Don't go to Van Horn Trading Post. I personally prefer the one in Rhodes because you can play blackjack here. It's well lit, well furnished, and very inviting. The air is full of bits of unheard conversations, people moving furniture to get up from the poker table, and delighted laughter. In terms of drinks, there isn't much originality. Granted, Red Dead Redemption 2 is basing itself off historical America, which I imagine did mainline beer and whiskey, but it's not as if there were no inventive bartenders back in the day. Even before Prohibition kicked cocktail bars into gear, some people were still combining alcohol to make it taste better. It would have been nice to see one of these early clumsy cocktails in action. Oh well, at least you can bring your own bottle of gin in. In terms of your interactions with the clientele, the dialogue system in the game is more geared around steering Arthur like a ship, as opposed to telling him exactly what to say. Arthur's interactions are often charming because of this, but usually they're pretty brief. I might actually posit that as points for authenticity, though. I know that I personally would avoid a long conversation with a drunken man with a pistol at his waist. In terms of getting Arthur skunked, it is very doable. Arthur will stumble around, unable to control his body very well, he'll begin to slur his voice, and you, the player, will be treated to a nice graphical filter to convey. Bonus points for the ability to play cards in these establishments. Poker itself is a game that many of us have played before, but the strong atmosphere makes it even more enjoyable to play it here. The real draw of the bars in Red Dead 2, though, are the fact that you're there with Arthur. Roger Clark's performance as Arthur Morgan extends to the small things as well as the big ones. The way he leans on counters, putters around, lifts his eyes to talk to people. Much like turning a real-life acquaintance into a friend over a six-pack of beers and Halo, Red Dead 2 uses the bar as a place to really explore Arthur Morgan, and really get to know him. For Arthur Morgan, the bar is a place to hang out, but not every protagonist is so lucky. Some protagonists have a history with alcohol that make a bar hard to rate fairly. The Whirling-in-Rags from Disco Elysium is a very nice bar you cannot drink at. Due to your protagonist's actions, you are barred from service at this particular drinking establishment, which is unfortunate because it seems like a very nice place. Immediately, the atmosphere is wonderful. In the morning, sunlight streaks through the windows and illuminates the people having their breakfast there, and at night, a gently spinning disco ball refracts the electric lights. The floor plan is very unique. It's laid out like a cafeteria, as that is its primary mode of business, but there are nooks and alcoves, and even though the furniture doesn't seem high quality, it does seem inviting. As previously stated, the cafeteria manager will not serve you alcohol due to your past misdeeds, no matter how nicely you ask him.
Drink, man, please! I'm thirsty!
But seeing as you haven't blown your reputation at the supermarket just down the street, there are some drinks that you can at least bring into the Whirling. The game has a generic beer and wine, both sporting a brand referencing in-game lore, but it also has this lovely pale-aged vodka. This brings to mind so many questions. Pale-aged, does that actually do anything? Why does the bottle look like a ship? What kind of ship does this look like? What were they smoking when they decided this should cost 30 real? While actually taking in the drinks is discouraged by the narrative. Don't worry, I loaded to save after this. The actual process of drinking is quite tantalizing. From the way his interactions with it are written, you can see why Harry was attracted to alcohol. He does truly love it. The way the game describes the taste, the consistency, the strange emotional rush of becoming drunk. It becomes easy to see what Harry found so attractive in this, and how this path led him to be the man he is today. The people of the Whirling are all individually interesting, although they definitely aren't all individually nice. Titus will be spending a lot of time here, he's a bit of a rusty nail, but you can have long, pointless conversations with Lena about cryptids, have a long, tangentially related to the investigation conversation with Gart that definitely has nothing to do with the investigation, or torment all of these fine people with your bloated soul's honest attempt at karaoke. Now, again, Harry should not be drinking, so it's understandable that the actual process of getting drunk minus the flavor text is a little bit dull. There's no screen filter, and as far as I can tell, Harry doesn't really change in personality or his moving gait. This could be explained by Harry having an enormously high tolerance considering the fact that he drank enough alcohol to literally obliterate his personality, with the stat change being his body returning to normal after receiving its primary ingested nutrient, alcohol. Still, it would have been nice to have him stumbling around a bit, preferably quite pathetically. The Whirling-in-Rags is a fantastic drinking establishment. If it weren't for the fact that your character is a recovering alcoholic, this would be a lovely place to drink. The great strength of the Whirling is the fact that you can have these long, meaningless conversations with people in it. It does a lot to immerse you in the world. As well, you learn about your protagonist while you're having these conversations, and your protagonist's relationship to alcohol. The Whirling feels like an oasis in the cruel and sometimes dismal world of Disco Elysium. And there's one other bar that also serves as a point of calm in the whipping storm outside. Right off the bat, the Stray Sheep from Catherine is a very realistic bar. Specifically, you usually come here with your friends and are having a few drinks while you're thinking about something else. The bar isn't really as divorced from the story as the bar usually is in these kind of games. And because you're going to be spending a lot of time here, it seems that a good amount of effort has gone into making this place feel very welcoming. Everything about this bar feels familiar. The plush leather seats, the bare brick walls, the posters. If you've been to any bar, if you've been to any eatery, you will recognize this. And because this place feels so familiar, it feels like a place of rest away from the hostile and hectic world of your dreams and waking life. They do have a decent variety of drinks here, and one of them is a cocktail. Admittedly, a two-part cocktail that any old idiot could whip up, but still authentic to the setting. While you can't taste the digital alcohol, you do get a tidbit every time you drain your glass, in the form of some nice liquor trivia.
I know this is sudden, but here's some trivia for you, as you seem to have finished your glass.
The clientele, well, we have to discount a few of them because they're people who are story relevant and specifically part of the protagonist's life. But apart from that, they're all very nice. You can sit at the bar and talk to people who are just drifting through. These are people that you will encounter again in your dreams, but it's interesting to see them here in the waking world where things are more calm. Because of the realistic nature of this game's setting, it was imperative that they find a way to make it feel like you're living in the real world, and by talking to these people who have lives outside of yours, it comes through. The feeling of being one of many of this enormous flock of sheep comes across. In terms of drunkenness, the game does have an inbuilt meter, but the way that it tracks it is actually pretty pleasant. I myself simply sat down and pounded a few cocktails and then arose to find that my usually closed posture was now open, and my face was flush. Not that unrealistic from how being drunk functions in the real world, when you suddenly get up and realize, oh, that was too many. My surprise, however, is probably due to negligence. I just wasn't looking at the meter, okay? But much like Fallout and Red Dead 2, this bar does endear you to the protagonist. It's never stated, but you can tell why Vincent drinks. When he's sober, he's a nervous wreck, but after he's had a few, he walks around with confidence. Confidence, not coordination. You can see why he would be attracted to drinking as someone who has trouble loosening up. Catherine's bar is in the spotlight for a very long time, and it does very well in that spotlight. I would almost say that it's my favorite bar in gaming, but there's one other. Usually the bar serves as a break in a game, a distraction from the main gameplay loop, a place to rest for a while. In this game, you barely ever leave it. I'm not saying it with the numbers. Valhalla, cyberpunk bartending action, is, in my opinion, host to the best bar in video games. The one that, if it were real, I would love to visit. It's a bit of a challenge to make a bar like this not grate on the player who's going to be here for a very long time. However, it's subdued, and in that subduing, it's pleasant. And it does seem relatively futuristic with its dark theme, gently glowing futuristic lights, the fact that all the drinks are made out of various research chemicals. It does seem like a good place to wind down and drink a gut punch? I don't want to drink that after a long shift in the protein mine. Unsurprisingly, a game about bartending does have the best drinks of all of these. Drinks that have inspired many other bartenders to actually see how they could taste in real life. Even if they weren't inventive enough to have real-world analogs at this point, they still look very inviting on their own. You will be speaking to a lot of the clientele, and most of them don't really want to talk about the bar and the business, or really even your business. Most of them will talk about their day-to-day lives, and that's really the joy of it. You get to learn about this enormous cyberpunk world that you will never see because you're stuck behind this bar. Though, maybe it's for the best you don't step over the counter. It seems kinda horrible out there. While you yourself cannot get drunk, you can get your customers drunk. You can control how much alcohol goes into drinks. You can give them drinks that are more alcoholic when they ask for something generic. This is actually your primary method of interacting with the story itself. Otherwise, it's just a visual novel, but there is dialogue that you can miss out on if you don't get the right people drunk at the right times. Start to get to know your clientele, your regulars, who likes what drink, how boozy they like their drinks. There's a lot of unspoken small personality that you can extract from these people just based on their preferences. The bar in Valhalla encapsulates everything that a video game bar should be. A cozy, restful place that encourages you to relax. A place where you can get to know characters and absorb the lore of the world. A place away from whatever chaos is just outside the door. Though, it cannot be truly great, simply by virtue of there not being a larger game around it that you are hiding away from. That being said, I still think it's the best one. A great video game is one that is impeccable at establishing and releasing tension, in making the player want to continue either through pressure or pure mechanical joy. However, in many games, this is unsustainable. There are some cozy games that are marketed as non-threatening ways to spend some time after work, and there are games that are marketed on pure mechanical catharsis and non-stop action. Both, in my mind, can be good, but both fail to grab me as much as a game that oscillates between the two. Many times a player will get tired, one way or another, and want a place to rest. Traditionally, this is done just by turning the game off. However, I think a bar in a video game shows the better way. By giving the player a form of relief within the game, it keeps the player from drifting away, and the time can be used to endear the character to the world, allow them to bond with characters, even the main character, through everything from calm conversation to drunken hooliganism. Large immersive worlds like Red Dead 2 or a Bethesda game require a place where you can get away from the story in the world, and usually the bar is a fantastic place to do it. In order for a game to be strong and immersive, it can't grab hold of you just by force. It needs to give you room to breathe. And in many games, that room will have a gin and tonic, strangers, and friends. Thank you for watching. This video was more fun to make than the last one. I enjoyed making it a lot more. The footage was a little harder to get. I had to go through a lot of different games and, get all their credits in order, all that jazz. I encourage you to like or subscribe if you liked the video or you'd like to see more videos like this. I'd like the encouragement. I ended up cutting a lot of sections, so if you think that there's a video game bar that I missed, please leave it in the comments. Maybe you actually wanted to see the bar from Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines or Space Station 14. Right now, the credit section is a little spartan. There's not too much to put here. If you'd like to see your name here, or if you'd just like to support me financially so I can keep affording whiskey, then I encourage you to support me on Patreon. Don't worry, it'll mostly go to groceries and rent.